Now let's learn about networking components. The first one is the Network Interface Controller card, or the NIC card. It is also known as a network interface card, network adapter, LAN adapter, or physical network interface. So it is a computer hardware component that connects a computer to a network. Due to popularity and low cost of Ethernet standards, most new computers have a network interface that builds into the motherboard. This part is connected to the motherboard. It is not the only option to connect your system to internet. Your system can have a Wi-Fi card. The image on the right shows a Wi-Fi card. It is also called a VLAN card. Now let's talk about a RJ45 connector, registered jack. RJ is a standard physical network interface for connecting telecommunications or data equipment. There are two wired standards for RJ45 wiring, T568A and T568B. Although there are 4 pairs of wires, Ethernet uses only 2 pairs, orange and green. These two wiring standards are used to create a crossover cable, in which you will have a wire T568A, in which you will have a wire T568A, and in which you will have to wire T568A on one end and T568B on the other end, or straight through cable, in which you will have to use either T568A or T568B on both ends. Straight through cables are used to connect DTE to DCE devices such as computer or routers to gateways or hubs. Crossover cables are used when connecting to DTE or DTE or DCE to DCE. Now we'll see what are these standards T568A and T568B. Now see in figures, there are 8 wires in each figure. If you look at figures in T568A, green wires are at pin 1 and 2 and orange wire is at the pin 3 and 6. And in T568B, orange wires are at pin 1 and 2 and green wires are at pin 3 and 6. As we know that a crossover cable, we can use these both as opposite ends. One end's pin 1 and 2 is connected to 3 and 6 respectively at the other end. And pin 4, 5, 7 and 8 are never used. They are just present in cables to facilitate data transfer at very high rate for future perspective. Now let's see the categorization based on the data transfer medium. One is wired and the other is wireless. Now I'll describe the wired in detail. In wired, there are twisted wire cables, coaxial cabling, fiber optic cabling. Twisted pair is the same cable as we have learned about in the last slide. Now the coaxial cable is the cable you may have seen in your houses for TV cable connection or in security cameras connection. Fiber optic cables are used where high-speed network is required. We use it in places for twisted pair cabling, but they are very costly and require high maintenance, so it's better to use twisted pair cabling and use that extra money to take the girl out you like for dinner. Who knows, you might get lucky. Now let's learn about the wireless networks. First comes the infrared. They have short wavelengths used for short range communication like TV remote. They are not much used nowadays in common networks. Number 2. The microwaves are used widely for point-to-point communications in satellite communication and deep space radio communications. It's also used in radars, radio navigation systems, or sensor systems. Number 3. Now the royal prince of wireless radio waves. They are used almost everywhere. Radios, satellite communication, your Wi-Fi. Well, if you're using anything that is wireless, it's probably radio wave medium. Now let's learn about cables. Most commonly used cables are Cat5e and Cat6. As means of future-proofing your networks, Cat6 is generally a network choice and worth that small premium in price. Cat5e and Cat6 are both backward compatible, means newer Cat6 cable can be used with older Cat5 and even with Cat3 equipments. Now let's talk about the speed. Cat5e goes up to 1000 Mbps and Cat6 up to 10 Gbps. The frequency of Cat5e is 100 MHz and the frequency for Cat6 is up to 250 MHz. The performance for Cat5e is good, but the performance for Cat6 is even better.